So I don't know if this is a story I should be telling in front of the dean. So this is a story that goes back to spring 2009. I was 31. I had just been tenured at Wharton. I had rushed through a 4-year PhD. I had rushed through my life as an assistant professor, and I'd reached this point, and I was feeling like, hey, I needed to slow things down. I needed to recharge, and I was eligible for a leave of absence. So I figured, let me go, pursue a hobby or do something else. Now, so I decided to go and apply for my leave. So what does a self-respecting professor do when they apply for a leave? So most people go visit another university, they get a change of scenery, and they continue to do what they're good at, teach and do research. Pete and Americas actually haven't even taken a leave of absence because they don't value the change of scenery. What they'd like to do is research and teaching right here in Philly. So what about me? Well, I decided I would go make a Bollywood movie. So I have to give you some background here. So when I was a kid, I recollect I was good at two things. One was writing and storytelling, and the other was math. And if you were a kid growing up in middle-class India in the 90s, there were only two professions that you could pursue. That was engineering or medicine. And writing wasn't going to get you either of them. If you don't believe me, you can ask the Follies writers. I think it doesn't get you very many jobs. So then I decided to focus on math and my technical aspects. And the next 15 years, I was only catering to the left side of my brain. So now that I was going to have a leave, I decided, I should do something that caters to, my creative side. And I'd actually spent the summer learning filmmaking at San Francisco School of Digital Filmmaking. I'd spent a summer with New York Film Academy in the past. So I figured that this was the time to pursue the interest. And also around this time, there was like this constant, humming in my head. Every time, I have a break, I would hear this song, in Steven Tyler's voice, dream on, dream on, dream on till your dream comes true. So like it's a sign, I've got to go ahead. So then I decided, okay, I'm going to do this. First thing I spoke to Prasanna, I told her, this is my decision. And she said, and I quote her, what's next? You're going to tell me you're going to be a gymnast tomorrow. So I shared it with a couple of friends. They shared very similar reactions. And I kind of said, okay, no point discussing with anyone. I'm just going to do this. And in fact, there was a part of me that really liked being this underdog, right? Nobody thought I have a chance at this. Because actually, when I was a kid, I was no good at studies. When I was in 4th grade, 5th grade, I nearly failed in 4th grade. Who fails in 4th grade? I nearly did. In fact, in 4th grade, there was this time where I didn't like the school. My dad would drop me to school, and I'd pretend I'm walking into school. The moment he would disappear, I'd walk out, roam around the city, and go back home in the evening. I did this for about 10 days until I got caught. But basically, I was no good. But at some point, I had to step up. And then later, I did well in high school. In college, I graduated at the top of my electronics engineering class. So I kind of felt, okay, look, I like this. I'm an underdog. Nobody thinks I'll do this, and I'll actually go ahead and make this happen. So I decided to go ahead, despite a lot of doubts from people. And that summer, right after the sabbatical started, I would spend my weekends, nights, working on a screenplay. And I started writing a political thriller. This was something I'd been ideating for a couple of years. So this was a story about a talented journalist stuck in a dead-end job who accidentally discovers a political conspiracy, and and that discovery might end up costing his life. So I wrote that screenplay, and then once it was ready, I said, okay, time for to share it in Bollywood. So for those of you who don't know, I like to say Bollywood is so big, Hollywood got named after it. Now, it's an alternative fact. It's a fact nonetheless. So anyway, I flew into Bollywood, and even though it's so big, I was able to get meetings with all the big name producers. And one of my early meetings was with this big family-run studio. I met the son. This was a young guy who was like the future of the studio. They had made a bunch of Bollywood hits starring, Salman Khan, Anil Kapoor, like big name actors there. So I pitched the screenplay to him, and he listened, with rapt attention and kept peppering me with questions. Who would you cast in this role? Who would you cast in that role? And at the end of the pitch, he actually made me an offer. And he said, I have only one condition. And the condition is, Kartik, you cannot direct this movie. So I said, look, I'm trained. I've actually learned filmmaking. I can show you some shots I've made. So he said, it doesn't matter. Don't take offense. It's not about you. I cannot go to Salman Khan and say, Kartik Hosanagar is going to direct. So, but what I'll do is I'll give you access to the set. And you can watch what's going on during production, and if and later one fine day you make a movie, this was going to actually help you. So the offer was pretty appealing, interesting, but actually I decided to say no because, I'd actually seen some of the movies that this studio had made, and honestly they were terrible. I needed their money, I needed their connections, but, I was worried about giving my story to them. Because, if they made the movie, then this journalist who's in a dead-end job would be driving a Lamborghini and dating Jennifer Lawrence. And this political conspiracy he uncovered would be of the kind that you can solve with a smashing dance move in the end. So I kind of said, what? Also, he made an offer after only hearing the pitch, and he hadn't even read the screenplay. Right? So I said, look, this is not right. Okay, I'm going to say no. And I came back from the visit without a producer lined up, but I was on a high. Because, think of it from my perspective. I'm here as an outsider. My first visit, I get meetings with big name producers. I even get an offer. So I can picture the movie being made. I can even picture what happens after the movie is made. It's a wide angle shot. It's an award ceremony. Imagine a medium close-up. Amitabh Bachchan, the leading actor in Bollywood, is holding an envelope in his hand. He pulls out this card and he says, the award for the best director goes to Kartik Hosanagar. And then there's a close-up of him. The camera goes, zooms in. Thank you all for So I went back to high. In a month I was back in India pitching other producers. My next meeting was another family-run studio, and this producer, he actually had read the screenplay end to end, and he had notes written down. And he liked the screenplay. He said it's a good screenplay. The problem is it's too cerebral. It needs to be more visceral, more emotional. So I would change it this way, that way. And then he said, what's your big idea here? Why is a Wharton guy, talking about a screenplay? What do you think happens here? So I said, actually, there's more that can be done here. And I said, look at Pixar. They've made 15 plus movies. Every one of these movies have been blockbuster hits. And that's, not a chance event. They do something special. And one of the special things they do is how they handle innovation. And it comes down to their development process. They start with dozens of ideas that are generated by all team members. They improve those ideas and eventually democratically select one idea worth pursuing. And I described their innovation process. And I said, you need to have such an innovation process in India, and I can help you set that up. And I'll help you help me with this one movie, and I'll help you set that up. And he actually liked the idea, and he said, I like your idea, I like your big vision as well. I went back to the US, he started emailing me with questions. Okay, what about this? How does Pixar do that? And actually, not just this guy, I met 2 other studios, all of them showed interest, and I was like, okay, this is going to happen. I came back to India, we discussed some next steps, I made all the changes they said, and I sent the screenplays to them. No response. So now I called them. They said, oh, sorry Kartik, I've been busy, I'll send you my, I'll read this, send you my notes in a couple of days. No response. This is going on for a while. I called them, but nothing's happening. So finally I go back to India a month or two later. And I had amazing meetings. These guys loved the stuff. They said, okay, this is great, this is what we're going to do next. I said, awesome, we shake hands, I come back. No news then. I email them, no response. Now I'm calling them, no response. So I go back to India and I meet them. And again they're like, Kartik, your story is so fresh. And this is the season for thrillers in Bollywood. This is awesome and so on. And again I'm thrilled. I go back, no news. And then I called a friend of mine. I was like, this is what's going on. So he said, your problem, Kartik, is you've been out of India too long. You don't even know how people say no in India. So nobody says no because it's rude. So if they show interest, it means it's a no. If they say I'm going to buy your script, it means it's a maybe. And I was like, wow, so I've been misled all along, and here I am thinking, I'm going to make this movie and that's slowly disappearing. Here I'm thinking, I have this Best Director award and I feel like this award which I'm holding in my hand is being snatched away. Like the La La Land guys said yesterday. So I got really desperate and I got nervous after I said this. And I said, okay, 3 months left in my sabbatical, last push. Did every single thing this producer, the guy who liked my idea, the big vision of a studio and everything, and I said, okay, I'm going back to him. And sent it to him, went to his office. In his office, it's a very small office. Right outside is this army of wannabe actors and odd job men sitting outside, and I'm in his office. And I said hi, and he said, oh, I'm so sorry I haven't gotten back to you. I've been really busy with this new project. So I said, what's this new project you're working on? I said, oh, we're working on a new screenwriter studio. So we have this idea, we'll bring a lot of writers in, and we will bring these other writers, and then we'll select we'll develop each of these ideas through this process, then we'll select one idea that we're going to, that's going to be our next movie. And I was like, wait. Is he just doing this? Did he just take my idea, steal it, repeat it to me, and taunt me with this? Or is he that clueless he's forgotten who he stole it from and he's telling it to me like it's an original idea? Now, this is the point where, if this was a Jason Bourne movie, this is where I would come in with a, like a fast-driving car, right through the gates, through the walls, right into his office, and I'd come out there and he's stealing my idea on his computer, and I'd kick his ass and then walk right out, right? But it wasn't a Jason Bourne movie. It wasn't my screenplay. It was actually real life, and I was like, oh man. And then I didn't say much, and came back. And pretty much that was the end of the sabbatical. I came back and I haven't looked at the screenplay ever since. That was my brief experimentation with Bollywood. So if I had known, is the theme, if I had known how much time and how hard it is to make a movie, I might have done something else. If I had known how much nepotism there is in Bollywood, I might have done something else. But you might wonder why I'm telling you this story. It's actually somewhat pressing and urgent right now for me, because it's been about 6-7 years since that event. And tell you what, I'm eligible for a leave of absence. But my left brain is saying, don't you dare. But my right brain, I keep hearing a song that Steven Tyler is singing. So anyway, all I'll say is that if any of you want to produce a movie, I know a director you should meet.